I'm not going to dwell on your personal life early on.
I don't care.
But let me just go down a list of people. Bob Dylan.
Bob, I have a new reaction now when people say, what about Bob Dylan? It is such an honor to have been a part of his life and to share that music and to have, loved him and even liked him. And that's a recent change for me because I was still hanging on to old stuff. And I started painting. I'm doing commissions, and the first 2 commissions are for Bob Dylan. So I'm painting, and I'm okay, I'll start listening to the music. And I just took a walk on the wild side with that music, and I thought, that's too great. That talent is too great to have any resentment about it, anything except a wholehearted feeling of caring and gratefulness.
What did you see and hear in Bob Dylan that made you say, when virtually no one knew him, listen to him?
I never thought about that question because it seemed in a way so obvious. I mean, nobody put out words like that. Nobody just streamed them. And he was a ragamuffin, which of course appealed to me. You can tell by the other lineup except Steve. I just knew. I knew. I went into this. Somebody said, "This kid over at Gertie's Folk City, you got to go hear him," and everybody was talking about him, in our folk circles. And so I went, and I thought, Jesus, I never heard anything like it. Never heard any words like that.
Mickey Hart.
Mickey, what a doll. A complete maniac.
Grateful Dead and all.
Grateful Dead and all. He came by here with a drum because he knew my son loved drumming. Gabe was really young, and there's Mickey out in the front yard banging on this giant drum and leaping around like a monkey. He was just indescribably full of life. And it was his expression when I say, "Oh, I'm tired, I want to take a nap," he'd say, "You can sleep when you die." So it was this fireball of energy that I guess I was really attracted to.
And Steve Jobs.
Well, that's an odd one, because I never did figure that out. We were so different. But I'm sure I saw a side of Steve that a lot of people didn't see. He was sweet, and he was fascinating, because he was just the opposite of me. We'd have these fights. He said that he was going to create a computer that could make a Bach trio better than one had ever been played by human beings. But the problem is he probably could. If he'd lived long enough, he probably could have.
Well, I know partly because you've talked about it over the years, that you have written songs. You are a songwriter, but you're perhaps better known for taking the songs of other people and giving a new interpretation to those songs. If you had to pick one song that you would like to be known for, let's say your signature song, not necessarily something you've written, but if it's that okay, what would you say that song would be?
Well, see, I've only written one song that could be a signature song. I've written a lot of nice songs, but I think because of the nature of Diamonds and Rust and how deeply, where it came from is very, very deep, and it turned out to be, sort of the most universal song I ever wrote. So that is a signature song, whether I like it or not.
True or untrue, that it was about, at least in part, of your time with Bob Dylan and the breakup with Dylan?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
No question about it.
No.
Yeah. Now, what about the night they drove Old Dixie down? And I will tell you, it's one of my favorites. I can't say there's any one favorite, but one of my favorites. How did you come to do that?
I can't remember how it started or where I heard it the first time, but I know that it was Christofferson time period in my life, and Nashville, and Quadraphonic Studios, and great players. I had never met any of them before. Kenny Buttrey's was there, that guy named Pig who played piano, he could play it backwards. He was blind, he could stand there and play it backwards. So it was a live time. And I started doing this song, and the chorus was this catchy thing, and we invited everybody from the studio, upstairs, downstairs, secretaries, didn't matter. They all came piling into the recording room, and we sang that chorus.
Well, tell me what you're doing with yourself now.
Oh, I'm making a lot of decisions. I'm seeing what it's like at this point, at age 77. What are my choices, you know? And trying to make intelligent decisions. I'm painting, which is kind of the newish part. I've made the decision to end the formal touring, meaning getting on the bus and, you know, racking my body and going all night and getting up and getting on the stage and singing for 2 hours and getting on the bus, you know. So I'll stop that part. It doesn't mean I can't do a concert here and there. So that tour right now is extended a half a year already because I realized the places that I needed to go back to and say goodbye to. So that's part of what I'm doing.
Well, you have the album out and you're doing the tour. The tour will take out what, most of the rest of this year?
And it's going into the next year, probably till the summer.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about the album.
The album was something that just was time for it to happen. Thinking about this tour. And so the trick with an album is finding the songs. And some of them I asked somebody to write, some of them were obvious, and then a couple of them just dropped out of the sky, like the President sang Amazing Grace. And that without that and Another World, it would be a nice folk album, but it wouldn't have the depth that it has in these times where we're confronting so much evil.
Confronting so much evil.
Mm-hmm.
What evil are you talking about?
What evil? The political atmosphere and setup and the situation we find ourselves in being something that I couldn't have dreamed up, you know. And we always say, they say, oh, it's worse than it ever was, but this is way worse than it ever was. And I've been around a long time, and so have you. And how you confront what we're up against is a constant question.
And to hear you talk about being worried about the present time, you were pretty worried in the 60s, as you made clear.
Yeah, and there was a clear goal that we saw every morning that you get up and do. And we had the sense of togetherness, that we could do something together. And in the end, it was international cooperation and a movement that ended the war way late. And I would say, I'll throw it in early, but I think the closest thing we've had to that feeling right now is the high school students who want the guns out of their schools. That is a movement.